Hello. So you've had a cesarean section before, and now you're pregnant again, and you're wondering about having a vaginal birth after a cesarean section. So this is an important topic that you definitely need to discuss specifically with your obstetrician. And so I'm just going to give you a general overview, but this is something to address early on. The good news is that the majority of women who've had a cesarean section are candidates for a vaginal birth after cesarean section. There are ways to assess your risk. There are even some calculators that assess the chance of success for you to have a vaginal birth. None of them are foolproof, but they help in the counseling process. Things that can affect your chances of success are the reasons for why you had a C-section. Was it because the baby was breech or bottom down, and now your baby isn't breech? Or was it because you got fully dilated and the baby never came down and you pushed for hours and never came down? Or was it also your weight can have a relevance to your chances of success, and how far along you are? The chances of success are a little less when you're overdue than when you go into labor. Also, if you go into labor spontaneously, improves your odds of success, and having being induced or putting you into labor can decrease your chances for success a bit. It's very important to be under the care of physicians familiar with vaginal birth after C-section, or VBAC, and a facility capable of handling the potential risks that come with a vaginal birth after cesarean section. There is a risk of increased problems of bleeding, of infection, of baby getting to the neonatal intensive care unit, and of more devastating consequences. Thankfully, those risks are low, but they can be life-threatening to you and or your baby. And so a proper assessment of your risk is certainly important. I'd like to end by telling you a personal experience that I've had with vaginal birth after cesarean section. Initially, there was a push to encourage everyone to have a vaginal birth after cesarean section. And then, this was many years ago, and then there were many occurrences, bad outcomes, consequences, and then there was kind of backing off and saying, no, we shouldn't be doing it. Over the years, thankfully, we've developed more information and more data to know when it's safe or when it's not, and this is a discussion that you will need to have with your doctor to assess the risks in your particular case, and then for you to be involved in that decision to accept the incremental risk or to decide against it. If you have a successful vaginal birth after cesarean section, it's safer and easier on you than having a planned repeat cesarean section. However, if you have an unsuccessful attempt at vaginal delivery and end up with a C-section, then that has the highest risk to you and the baby. So we don't know ahead of time, hence the dilemma and the need to assess your risk. So the personal story that I had was, I have had a patient who I cared for who had a uterine rupture. So that is one of the worst outcomes, risks of a vaginal birth after cesarean section. And the patient and the baby both did well, thankfully. But the response upon detecting what happened needed to be very quickly. And going from the time of identifying that there was uterine rupture to the time of performing a C-section and having the baby out was in minutes. And that allowed the baby to, despite the rupture, to survive and do well, and the mom to do well. So the final conclusion of that story is, I really encourage you to be at a facility that can handle emergencies, that is capable of immediate response, and certainly that precludes for sure home deliveries in this circumstance. I hope you found this video helpful, and you really need more information than I'm providing here on this topic, but it gives you an overview and hopefully encourages you to recognize again that the odds of success are usually pretty good if you meet the criteria. Thank you.